I have a confession to make. It is 2021, I'm almost 32 years old, and I have never read a Stephen King novel. Until now. Hey everybody, it's October. That means it's time for a horror book versus movie. This time around, it's Stephen King's 1977 novel, The Shining, and the 1980 film adaptation directed by Stanley Kubrick.
Here's Johnny!
In this video, I'll give my thoughts on each, compare how they're different and similar, and at the end of the video, I'll tell you which one I think is better. This video will contain spoilers about both, so here's your warning. Before we get into it, please remember to like and subscribe. Okay, so The Shining is about a family of three, a father, mother, and young son named Danny who has special psychic abilities. The father, Jack Torrance, played by Jack Nicholson in the film, is a recovering alcoholic and struggling writer who gets a job as the winter caretaker for the scenic Overlook Hotel, a hotel with dark secrets. And while the three are holed up together, eerie things start happening inside the hotel, and Jack slowly starts to go insane. The Shining, while written by the legend Stephen King, may be more widely known for its movie. I mean, if you Google The Shining, at least when I Googled it, the first page is entirely filled with results pertaining to the movie. It is well known that Stephen King is and was not a fan of this film, which I'll talk about a little bit later. And if you've read the book and seen the movie, you know that they are quite different. Okay, so at the beginning of this video, I admitted, shockingly enough, that this is the first Stephen King book I've ever read. And I had seen the film several times over the past couple decades or so, and I really liked the movie, and I also really dug the book. First of all, Danny is a much better character in the book. He talks and acts much more like a child, and you get a much deeper, fuller understanding of his abilities, or his shine, in the novel. And the book is much more centered around Danny than the film is. You essentially learn that he is the key to everything. He's basically the one who sets off the chain of events at the hotel because the hotel is very interested in him. Which brings me to the hotel. While Jack is the primary villain of the movie, the primary villain of the book is the hotel. There are way more supernatural elements in the book, and the hotel is like a demonic entity with its own motivations and agency. The book is much more explicit about the hotel wanting to possess Jack and make him go crazy and do things to his family, whereas that element of the movie is a little bit more vague and tends to lean towards making you think that Jack is going crazy due to cabin fever. One aspect of the book that I really liked is the fractured relationship between Jack and Wendy. It's only briefly touched on in the movie, but the fact that Jack once broke Danny's arm in a fit of rage really hurt their marriage, and you can feel that tension between them all throughout the book. Wendy confesses to thinking of divorcing him several times, and there's even one part in the book where Wendy says that she could count on two hands how many times Jack has said, "I love you" to her. And one aspect of the book that doesn't make it into the movie that adds a lot to Jack's character is the fact that he lost his teaching job because he hurt one of his students one time, and that's a big part of the novel. In the book, King compares Jack's temper to a vicious animal on a frayed leash. Even with that description attached to him, Jack is a more playful character in the novel. He is childlike sometimes and has a lot more of a playful personality to him. My favorite chapter in this book is chapter 52, titled Wendy and Jack. In the movie, that's where you get this scene. But instead of an axe, Jack has a roque mallet, Wendy has blonde hair, and she's holding razor blades instead of a butcher knife. Before this scene happens in the book, though, Wendy and Jack have a brutal fight with each other that doesn't happen in the film. And Wendy actually stabs Jack in the lower back with a knife, and Jack f***s Wendy up. I mean, breaks a lot of her bones, and she is bloodied and beaten to a pulp. And Wendy in the film, I think, gets away basically without a scratch. The film, I would say, is more Kubrick than King. It's a Kubrick film, so every frame is a painting. It is gorgeous. And can we go back to this scene real quick? I mean, this is one of the coolest and most effective pan shots I've ever seen. This movie also has one of the greatest opening sequences ever. Mainly due to the incredible music, which is the Dies Irae, a 13th century Gregorian chant known for its sinister tones. So like I said, I really like this movie, but I never found this movie to be particularly scary. Creepy, yes. Scary, eh. And as I mentioned earlier, Stephen King does not like this film. He didn't think it did his book justice. And he criticized Kubrick, saying in part, quote, "Kubrick just couldn't grasp the sheer inhuman evil of the Overlook Hotel. So he looked instead for evil in the characters and made the film into a domestic tragedy with only vaguely supernatural overtones. That was the basic flaw." King also thought Nicholson was all wrong for the part of Jack Torrance, since Nicholson had just starred in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, so audiences had already seen him portray a crazy person. And in Cinefantastique magazine, Frederick Clark wrote, "Instead of playing a normal man who becomes insane, Nicholson portrays a crazy man attempting to remain sane." And I kind of agree. I mean, the scene where Jack looks deranged, he's wearing that black turtleneck, staring like a madman out the window, it happens too soon in the film, in my opinion, and his descent into madness is much more of a slow burn in the novel and builds more realistically in the book than it does in the film. The way the book is written, man, you feel like you're going crazy at times. But that doesn't negate Nicholson's great performance in this film.
Does it matter to you at all?
He really goes all out. I mean, his mannerisms and facial expressions remind me of an early version of Jim Carrey. And I should mention that there was a made-for-TV miniseries called Stephen King's The Shining that came out in the 90s, starring Steven Weber, that stays truer to the novel, but it is not as well made as Kubrick's film. Okay, so some other differences between the book and the film. There are a lot, so I'm not going to go through all of them, but some of the main ones are the fact that, you know, in the movie, the hotel has that iconic hedge maze, but in the book, it doesn't. Instead, it has a topiary, or hedge animals, and those hedge animals actually come to life at the end of the book, which would have been pretty difficult to capture on film, which is why Kubrick instead went with a maze, which I actually thought was pretty effective. The 90s miniseries, though, does have the hedge animals. In the book, the scary room with the woman in the tub is room 217, but in the film, it's room 237, which seems like a silly thing to change. You know, why would you change a number? But it's because that the hotel, where the exterior scenes were shot in the film, had a room 217 and specifically asked that they change the room number because they were worried that people wouldn't want to stay there. The all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy is unique to the film. It's not in the book. And the scene right after where Jack taunts Wendy up the staircase is one of the best scenes in the film, in my opinion. And I love how Kubrick keeps the camera behind Wendy while she's swinging the bat back and forth. It's a great way of building tension, and that scene always reminds me of one of my favorite Simpsons Treehouse of Horror episodes that spoofs The Shining. That staircase scene, though, doesn't happen in the book. In the book, Jack and Wendy are near the bar, and he strangles her, nearly kills her, until she smashes a bottle over his head, and then drags him into the pantry where she locks him up. The book and the film have way, way, way different endings. When the character Dick Halloran comes to the rescue at the end of the book, who, by the way, he's played excellently by Scatman Crothers in the film, he has a battle with a hedge lion, and Halloran lives in the book. He escapes with Wendy and Danny. He gets killed by Jack in the film. In the book, though, Jack does beat him over the head pretty badly with the mallet. And in the book, Jack has a moment of redemption, which was a really touching part. Doesn't happen in the film. He's about to kill Danny, and then he kind of stops and realizes that he's being possessed by the hotel, and his own conscience takes over for a second, and he tells Danny to run away, and then he takes the mallet to his own face and really messes himself up. If you've seen the movie, you know that Jack freezes to death in the maze, but in the book, the boiler room of the hotel explodes, killing Jack, and the hotel burns to the ground. All right, I'm gonna stop there. Which one do I like better? I'm gonna go with the book. The characters in the book are richer, and while the movie's very creepy, this book really got to me. I remember having a late night snack by myself in my dark house one night, and there were some creaks and some noises, and I remember looking around, being like, damn you, Stephen King. All right, have you read The Shining and or seen the film? Which one did you like better? Do you agree or disagree with my thoughts on them? Let me know in the comments. What did I miss? What did I leave out in my review? Let me know in the comments. Also, what's your favorite Stephen King book? Or what's your favorite Stanley Kubrick movie? Comment below. All right, stay tuned for more reviews in the near future. My next review will be Frank Herbert's epic sci-fi novel, Dune. I'll be comparing it to the brand new Denis Villeneuve film. I'm very excited about that. All right, if you liked this video, please give it a like, and you might be interested in checking out this video, and you can subscribe by clicking right here. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you later.